Yo, peace was good. Welcome to another hip hop album review. This is part 138. The album that we're reviewing today is Atmosphere's debut album, Overcast, released in 1997. For those who don't know, Atmosphere is, they were a group from Minneapolis, Minnesota. They got their start back in late 80s going to the early 90s. They consist of 5 members. The members are Slug himself, Spawn, and Beyond, and Stress. Those are the members of the group. When it first started, there were only 2 members of the group at the time, and the group was it was just Spawn and Slug at the time, but Slug wasn't the MC at the time. He was actually the DJ slash producer of the group. Spawn was actually the lead rapper of the group, and so like when it first started, they went by different names. I forgot the first 2 names they were known as at first. But I know they went by Urban Atmosphere, alright? And that's the name that they carried themselves throughout the early to mid 90s until they dropped the name Urban, and they just kept the Atmosphere part. From what I understand, Spawn had to convince Slug to start rapping because he liked how he put his words together and stuff like that. And so eventually, Slug ended up rapping and stuff like that. And then throughout the years, they started doing live show, hip hop shows throughout the area and stuff like that. Doing radio interviews, freestyles and stuff like that. But then, just like groups coming up back in the 80s and 90s, they was going through a lot of trials and tribulation when it comes to getting signed. People weren't really digging the shit that they were talking about, the introspective lyrics, the retrospective and stuff like that. And they would have studio sessions or whatever, but they weren't treated as first priority. They were kind of left in the background, kind of in the just kind of left in the cutting room floor. And because of that, they kind of got fed up. And I believe it was Beyond or one of them or just all of them together decided fuck this, let's start our own shit. And that's how Rhyme Says had came about. And that's how now Rhyme Says is being one of the biggest underground hip hop groups, hip hop record labels out now. But it moves like a major record label. Same thing with Duck Down Records, the same thing, you know what I mean? So, just things like that. And eventually, over the years, that's when Stress came around, and Ant came around. Then Beyond came about, and then that's how the whole group became as in one into Atmosphere. All right. Like I said, this is their first album. That's what the album looks like. It's paying homage to Andrew Hill's Judgment album that came out, I believe, in '64 or '63, which is like a Blue Note jazz record. Made me want to go look for the album. Pretty sure it got some hot shit. All right, that's what the album looks like in the back. See the names and stuff like that, pretty dope. Kind of has that old school Blue Note jazz with the credits and stuff like that. Kind of paying homage to that. It's pretty cool. Open it up. That's what the album looks like. It up right here. That's pretty cool right there. Got the vinyl just hitting somebody's head and shit, they're just slicing their head open, their melon open. Then you got the thank yous, the shouts and stuff like that. By the way, this is the reissue version. This is not the original version, so just to let you guys know that. Got this FYE I think a year and a half ago, maybe last year, something like that. Got it for $12.99. So shouldn't be too hard to find. Might be a little hard to find, but but that's near here to say. But anyways, there's 18 tracks. It says 17, but it's a bonus track. So track 1, 1597. That's a Slug and Spawn track. That song, pretty much sets the tone of the album. I like the beat too. The beat has kind of like an orchestra type of vibe to it, you know what I mean? Has the 1800s orchestra feel to it, very dope. It's just another, it's just a braggadocio track and stuff like that, so pretty dope. Track 2, Brief Description, that's a Slug solo track. that song pretty much is what I gathered from that song was pretty much like an autobiographical track, just the shit that they were talking about, like just kind of stuff that I mentioned earlier in the video, just like just like just them being themselves, just not being like everybody else, just them having a love for music, love for hip hop, but at the same time having like emotional tracks and stuff like that, and people were really giving them the time of day and stuff like that, as far as record labels and stuff like that, and how they came about as a group, and that's what I got from the song, brief description. Track 3, Current Status featuring Beyond. That's a Slug and a Beyond song together. What I got from that track right there, actually like the beat for that song too. With that song, they actually talked about the current state of hip hop, like how hip hop nowadays, like at that time in 1997, it's like, because you gotta remember around 95 to like 98 was a bad boy. Well, realistically 1996 all the way to like 98 was like the bad boy era. You know what I mean? It was all about Biggie. It was all about Mace. I guess LOX. But Biggie was like the biggest member, the biggest artist in Bad Boy Records. So, it was all about, talk about money, talk about girls and guns and champagne and Louis Vuitton and stuff like that. And, just talking about that, like, how people nowadays at that time, just so, what's the word, like materialistic, you know what I mean, just superficial to say the least, you know what I mean, and that's not what they're about, they're about themselves, it's them being themselves and stuff like that, and that's what I got from the song Current Status. Track 4, that's a Spawn and Slug track. That song right there, what I got from that is like about this girl who Slug was they were kind of going out in a sense, but at the same time this girl actually has a boyfriend or fiance, and or I guess she was married, or he had a fiance or whatever, and with that, and you know how some of these girls are, like they like to play bullshit games and things like that, play with niggas' minds and shit like that, and that's what I got from that track right there. Is like, yo, like, you say you like me, but you with this dude, so what the fuck gives, you know what I mean? And that's what I got from that joint right there. Track 5, 430. That's just a braggadocio track. That was pretty cool. Track 6, Adjust. Same thing, another braggadocio track. Track 7, Clay. That's a Slug soul track. That was actually pretty cool. He was talking about. Yeah, he was actually talking about how I don't know. He was like talking about some type of planet, and it was comparing to clay and stuff like that. Didn't really understand that track, but yeah, that was pretty interesting. Track 8, Arola, this is the Arola right here. That's just an instrumental track. You just hear Ant just like doing the scratches and stuff like that. Pretty dope. Sorry about that. Yeah, so like I said before, that's just an instrumental track. Just him scratching over a beat and stuff like that. Track 9, Sound is Vibration. That's a Slug and Spawn track. That was pretty cool right there. That was pretty dope. Track 10, Multiples. Love that joint right there. That's a pretty dope track. It's kind of like them going back and forth. Kind of like with them like finishing each other's sentences and stuff like that. I thought that was pretty cool. Track 11, Scapegoat. That was pretty cool actually. That's a pretty cool track. Like just saying like kind of like a scapegoat, kind of self-explanatory. Like for example, I'm just paraphrasing. Like let's say like I having bad grades. Yeah, it's because of a girl. You know what I mean? Or I act a certain way. Yeah, it's because of how I was brought up. Think of that song as that. Not that those topics, but like kind of similar in a sense, and that's what you get with Scapegoat, and that was pretty cool right there. Track 12, Ode to the Modern Man, Lightning Blend. That was actually pretty cool right there. That was a pretty cool track, pretty dope. Um, I forgot what sample that was used, but it was actually pretty cool right there. I like that song too. Track 13, WND, that was another dope track too. Track 14, that's a slug solo track. Uh, he does this. He spits a 16, multiples reprise. Like I said, that's just a slug solo track. 16 bars. It's just one verse. Pretty dope. Pretty short. It's about like close to like 2 minutes long. Track 15, that's a very dope track. It's like one of my favorite tracks off the album. And it's kind of something I could relate to, because it's actually a Spawn solo track. And in this song, he actually talks about his father, how his father died, like the day that he found his dad. Not that he found, but he found out that his dad died and stuff like that, and just how he coped about his dad dying, how just like how if your father died or your mother died, and like just how you would process that in your mind, like some people take it like when they first process it, they cry right away. Some people, it takes them a while to really get realize that their loved one has died, and then the fact that they'll never come back physically, but they're always with you spiritually. And that's what I got from that track right there. And that could be a dope, kind of like a dope Father's Day track. And that's what I got from that track, Caved In. So that definitely relatable, because my dad died back in '94, so that was like 21 years ago, and that's crazy. Wow, that's 21 years. That's crazy. Love you, Dad. Rest in peace. You definitely missed. Track 16, Cuando Limpia el Humo, which means when the smoke clears in Spanish. That's another dope track right there. When I heard that track, I think it was talking about a gun, you know what I mean, or when the smoke clears and stuff like that. I don't really know what the song was about, honestly. Yeah, it's a dope track, but I couldn't understand what they were talking about with the song. Track 17, The Outer Net. It's another song just talking about how niggas are like, just how people are nowadays, just how people are superficial. How, especially in hip hop, out where they talk about how MCs or hip hop fans, what you can kind of go through. It's kind of like reminiscent of today, where like you got fans that are not loyal, that they think the MCs and stuff like that. Sometimes fans don't know their place. They think they know everything. They don't. You got fans that just like overall critics and stuff like that. They just think they're too good to support the artists and stuff like that. And that's what I got from the joint. The Outer Net. That's what the 17. That's actually the last track, but the actual last track is a bonus track, and the song is called Primer, but it's not listed on here. It's actually in the song in the CD. And what I got from that song Primer is pretty much sort of about I guess Slug trying to get with Spawn's sister, and then like Spawn feeling some type of way, things like that, and it's just kind of going back and forth, and that's what I got from that joint right there. Overall with this album, very dope album, very slept on, because like I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not really into atmosphere like that, you know what I mean, but I've heard a couple of their songs. I do like some of them. I do have to pick up some albums from them, some more albums to really get into them, but definitely one of the most innovative hip hop groups out right now. You know what I mean? Just as far as like sound wise, and like just some of the stuff that they were talking about. A lot of people like to deem Slug as like the first emo rapper. I guess. I mean, if you wanna call it that, because it's some of the shit that he talks about. Yeah, I guess so, because this is the fact that Tupac, he has some emotional tracks, but Slug was actually the one that talked about his vulnerabilities as an MC, and at that time, that was not common, you know, especially around that time. Even now, people starting to like, you know, now starting to like show their vulnerability, their softer side. I hate to say it like that, but yeah, vulnerability, I guess you want to call it that. Um, where he talks about how he's ugly and stuff like that. He gets no girls and he has a hard time getting with girls and things like that. Where niggas now, like in the hip hop game, it's the total opposite. It's the whole machismo. I get mad pussy. I sell mad kilos. I chill niggas. Niggas don't cry. Yo, we men. Yeah, nah, but with Slug, he's more the opposite. Like, yo, I'm a man. I'm still a man. You know, I'm just as a man as you, but I'm not afraid to show my emotional side, and that's what I get from what Slug and Atmosphere and stuff like that, and that's pretty cool right there. And like I said, love this album, very dope. Love the sound of it. I like the whole like kind of the sample choices that they use is very different from back in the '90s. You know, because a lot of the '90s back then was a lot of jazz, a lot of you know, a lot of R&B, soul tracks and stuff like that. But this album, the production was like more atmospheric. It was like more cinematic in a sense, but kind of dirty in a sense. My only gripe with the album was like the drums. I felt like they could have switched it up with the drums. Like, at least Ant could have switched it up, like had different drums, because I felt like the drums kind of sounded a little bit the same as far as the drum sounds. Could have used different drums. That was my only gripe with it. And you know, just me making beats. You know, I could, you know, cause like when I make beats, I like to switch it up. You know what I mean? But like, with this album, it was kind of like almost sounded like the same, and that was like the only gripe with this album. But overall, definitely pick it up. I know there's a lot of people don't really talk about this album. A lot of people talk about the later albums like Lucy Ford, God Loves Ugly, and stuff like that. But definitely check it out, man. Highly recommended. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed the review. This was dedicated to my dude Jamal. You know who we are. He's been wanting me to review this album, so this is for you. I hope you like it. And stay tuned for more videos. Peace.